I've been exactly where you are. In all the years that I've been playing games, there's been plenty of times where I load up YouTube and I'm like, I just want to improve. I want to get better. And then I see a video, how to get better aim, or 3 aim tips that the pros use and you don't. Then the most eventful thing they say is, oh, you see this crosshair and this sensitivity? Copy it and you'll be amazing. And if you've ever tried that, you know that does not work. Maybe the sensitivity will help for a week, but then you go back to the same bad habits, the same missed shots, and everything's all the exact same. But in this video, I'm going to teach you guys how to get aim so good, it feels like you're cheating. I've coached the aim of over 500 players. And of those 500 players, some of them were eternity players, one above all players, face it level 10 players, everything you can think of, I've coached. And every single one of them that, well, actually did the practice have improved. So let's get right into it in this episode of Shotty's Yap Session. First of all, technique. In all the time that I've been coaching, every single player, everybody has had the same technique issues fundamentally. Exact same. And I'm going to teach you guys how to fix it in game. And I had to fix that technique issue so much that I also created a gigantic resource of all of my aim coaching resources, my knowledge, my routines, my technique videos, all of it, all in one place. And if you guys are interested in that, you can check that out in the link in the description. But what is this issue? So to show you, I'm going to load you guys into the practice range so you can see what I'm talking about. Now, to see the technique I'm talking about and to really see where in the practice range we'll be working on, you head out here and they finally added a portal to it. This guy right here. You walk over here and you hit this portal. Now, once you do that, you'll have all this. I'm going to give you guys a parameter. I'll have a full routine here and I'll show you guys how to use it, why to use it, and what it works on. But first, the technique issue we talked about. Now, first, to see what I'm talking about, imagine we have one target. You see how Luna Snow's right here, right? And to follow her, she's moving at 1 speed. Yes, she's changing direction, but she's moving at 1 speed. The problem with this is most people, when they're shooting her, instead of shooting her like this, right? Most of us, we shoot her like this. And what that looks like over here would be segmenting your aim. And to help you visualize it a little better, this is the drawing I draw for most people. If a target like Luna Snow moves perfectly like this, right? Most people don't track her like this. We track her like this. This is what I call segmenting your aim. The problem with segmenting your aim is, imagine you have a target, right? Let's say this is Luna Snow right here, but she's moving 10 meters per second to the left, right? So 10 m per s. If your crosshairs right here, and then we do this segmentation, but we hit her perfectly, best shot we've ever hit in our life, right? The problem with this is, if we're segmenting, humans have something that I like to call buffer time. Buffer time, the problem with it is, everyone has it, and it's basically a few seconds or half a second. It's really actually about 300 milliseconds for untrained people. I'm going to exaggerate and say it's 1 second, but let's say it's actually 300. Right now, we're saying it's 1 second. But when you buffer, it's like slamming on the brakes of a car. If you've ever drove before, when you slam on the brakes of your car, it takes you a second before your car can start moving again. It takes a real long time before you can fully accelerate back to the same speed. That's also why on highways, you don't want to fully stop, because keeping up with the flow of traffic is impossible once you fully stop, because you'll never reach, let's say, 70 miles per hour like the guy behind you before he rams you in the back, right? And it's the same thing with this. If you buffer right here and you waste a full second, obviously exaggerating, then by the time you process, okay, I can move again, or I really realize where my crosshair landed, target's over here. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. And then you segment just like this. And this is what causes this problem. And it happens to everybody. Everybody. I coached a guy. He's face at level 10. He has insane aim, hitting crazy shots. He's doing this. In every one of his flicks, every one of his shots, even in his amazing aim, he did this 9 times out of 10. Now, personally, I like to use an app called Kovacs, which is on PC, to fix this. But if you're on console, or if you just don't want to buy it because it's like $8, it's fine. That's also what I coach on, which, like I said, in the description if you want to check that out. Shameless plug, I know. But this is the problem. You can't be segmenting like this. You have to do all of your aim in one movement, or decently one movement. Now let's turn on infinite ammo. If you look at my bullet gaps, right, you see how these are really clustered and then they get spread out, then they're clustered, then they're spread out. This is a change in speed, right? Compared to if I just do 1 speed the whole time, right? That's a terrible example, but you get what I mean. If you do this versus if you do, you can see how there's bunches instead of smooth gaps like that. That's a problem. You don't want to do that. And you can see if you're doing it. It's very clear when you're doing it. Like, let's turn back this. Turn this back on, right? If I'm tracking her, right? This, even if I miss, right? One thing about it, a lot of people misunderstand. Oh, but I'm missing. It's fine, right? Because imagine if I'm aiming back here or this far up ahead of her, I'm still perfect technique, right? So it doesn't matter as much hitting. It's about training the technique. Because let's say you're driving too fast on a car, right? Let's say if I'm driving too fast, like right now I'm driving too slow, now I'm too fast. If you're driving too fast with a car, you're not gonna, oh boy, slam on brakes. It doesn't make any sense, right? You might let off the gas. So let's say I'm too fast, I just slow down a little bit. Or if I'm too slow, I just speed up a little bit, right? Even if I'm missing, right? Doesn't matter because you're just practicing right now smooth motions. But even when you're aiming with clicking characters like this, before you click, you should be tracking them a little bit, right? Like that. You should be following them a little, not just, let's wait. I'm gonna hit her eventually. Like, it's impossible. It's much harder to aim like this. Now, we're gonna talk about flicking and when you should flick and when you shouldn't flick. But before we talk about it, how do you fix this segmenting? Now, unfortunately, with aim is one of those things that you cannot just, oh, well, here's this cue that you have to do, and then all of a sudden, it's magic, right? I can't just tell you, do this, perfect aim, yippee. It's not really how it works. Not at all. So, aim is mostly conscious effort. That's the hard part about aim. That's also why people think aim trainers don't work. It's because if you play an aim trainer, you can go into 90% of the maps and they're garbage. They don't help you at all. And all you're doing is reinforcing terrible habits. The real use for an aim trainer is to fix those terrible habits, see what your terrible habits are, work on them in game with those specific maps or playlists or whatever. So, for this smoothness issue, this is going to be the Smooth Your Wrist of Marvel Rivals. Anyways, now here, if you want to work on your smoothness, first of all, I wouldn't do Luna because she's kind of hard. She's a little small. I would start on someone like Punisher because he's obese, right? So if we look at this, but with Punisher, you want to start with him instead because he's actually possible to hit with very little training. Now, your goal, though, is one motion with all your aim, right? Even if I'm missing, you see I'm missing a lot of the shots. Even if I'm not hitting them, I'm still maintaining this technique, right? You see what I mean? This is all the same technique. Now, people ask me, does this help for melee characters? Does this help for precision? Projectile, all that helps for everybody. Because like we talked about, aim is me put mouse on target. That's all it is. Aim is mostly hand-eye coordination, which people question. Long story short, I have done it before and I can do it again. I might pop up a video right now on a completely random sensitivity, the sensitivity that's constantly changing. I can aim better than 99% of people. It's just the way it is because I can feel when the sensitivity changes and my arm will adapt. Okay, slowing down, I'll slow down or whatever. I'll speed up, etc. So sensitivity doesn't matter. It's just a tool for you to achieve your goal. It's all it is. So if you need to track quicker or aim faster, faster sensitivity might help. If you need more precision, a slower sensitivity will help. But what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to look at Punisher, you're going to set it to whatever range. If you're very new, I would start at 10, and then you go over 10, and then he's going to be very close to you, right? I would stand around at the doorway. No, not the doorway. Let's say, let's line up with this doorway. This is fine. And then you just want to stand still for now, and you want to practice smooth motions. Now, for 10 meters, I honestly wouldn't start at Punisher, now that I see it. Let's start at Luna for 10 meters. Where is she? So, for 10 meters, we can start with Luna, and you just want to focus on staying on target. You don't have to worry about headshots yet. It's not a precision practice that we're doing. We're just worrying about smoothness practice. So, just going smooth, following the target at one speed. You just hold down your shoot button the whole time. You don't want to let go of the shoot. You want to be constantly putting down damage the entire time. Now, once you get better, you're going to move it up to 20 meters. And this is all just for the smoothness practice. Now, at 20 meters, most players, I would not recommend you go farther than this. I would recommend you stay here for quite a while. Because if you're not perfectly hitting the whole time, and if you're not very smooth with it, you're just going to train bad habits. And once you've built up a solid foundation, we're going to switch to this routine, which this is going to be quick mantis routine. Now, you go over here, you're going to see it, 20 meters fixed, horizontal, quick. And I'm going to keep the time on 60 seconds. The first two that we did, the Punisher and the Luna, all about technique. Just getting your technique ready, warming up, feeling what it feels like to aim smoothly and aim in one speed. Then, with this one, this is really me pushing my skill. This is going to be your actual training. You go into this, and you're going to load up, and every time you're just going to keep practicing that smoothness. And you're going to beat your own high score. That's your goal. Now, don't focus on scores too much. Scores are not everything. It's more about technique. Because like I said, I can aim like, let's see. Oh, no, she's out of spawns. Hold on. I can aim terribly, basically. I can aim like complete garbage. But if I aim like complete garbage, I can still get better scores than most people. Like if I just jitter like this. Perfect. I still get scores, right? Compared to if I do this, I might miss a lot. Like, let's say now I keep perfect technique, but I'm missing, see? Perfect technique. I was sitting there nice and smooth following target, but I was falling off the target. Accuracy isn't everything. We don't care about that as much. Yes, eventually we want to be getting perfect accuracy, but for now you just want to get perfect smoothness. Now, past smoothness, which this is 95% of aim training. If you can get perfect smoothness, like let's say if I go over to, let's put her at 40 meters, right? And then let's turn this on. If you can do this, or another example, which I'll show you in a second. If you can do that perfectly, right? Or if you go over to, actually, let's do Storm. Storm's pretty hard. Storm is not an easy character to get hit. Let's put it on super fast. Let's put it on 40 meters and let's hit apply. If you can do something like this very consistently, it'll be impressive. Now let's see how I can do it first try. Why isn't she moving up and down? Oh, my bad. Hold on. Random. Apply. If you can do that consistently, like aiming smoothly at a target that's moving up, down, left, right, and I'm still missing quite a bit. Like, this isn't great for me. But if you can do this consistently and very controlled, even farther than this, if you can do that, shucks. Marvel Rivals isn't one of those games that's super aim intensive, in my opinion. So if you can master this alone, I don't think aim is as much of the problem. Which, don't worry, you can get my coaching in the description. I'm also going to be releasing a document about all the coaching I've done in Marvel Rivals as well. Teach people how to rank up through every rank, all the stuff I've taught in my private coaching, all that in there as well. But if you don't want to spend any money, you can also get free coaching at Gosu Academy in the link in the description. But now that you've mastered that smoothness part of things, all you need to know about clicking, now let me show you guys. Let's say this is a target right here. My font is too small. Let's say this is a target right here, right? And your crosshair is right here. Everybody, let's actually, you know what? I'm going to ask you guys a question. What do you think you should look at? Your target or your crosshair? Most people don't really know the answer to that, or they'll say one, the other, both, who knows, right? My general answer I give, if you've ever looked through a telescope, right? Imagine your crosshair as a telescope. When you look through a telescope, if someone runs by the lens, like right at the front, they teleport by. But if someone's far away, they look like they're small or moving slowly. That's exactly what it's like looking at your crosshair. That's why I tell people, or at least newer people, when you're playing, you should look at your target if they're close or moving quickly, and look at your crosshair if they're far away or moving slowly. But this isn't always true. On Hela, which maybe I'll pop up a clip of it, I was able to, in Grandmaster, wear a crosshair like this, gigantic turmeric, covered more of my screen than anything, but I dropped 70 kills on Hela with this crosshair. No center dot either. It was just this. How did I do it? And how can pros use no crosshair and still destroy people and all that? It's all the same reason. If I asked you, where is the center of your screen, and you've been playing games for, let's say, a few years or a year or whatever, you'll tell me somewhere in this box, right? Somewhere general in this area, which is correct. Now, unless you have telescopic lenses for eyes, you should be able to see. If I put my crosshair here and a target's right here, you should be able to see both of them, and you should be able to micro adjust to it. That's the premise of staring at exclusively your target, which is what you should be doing. You should be looking at your target constantly, pretty much at least, because you want to be reading their movements, seeing what they're doing, and you don't want to be almost pinholed by your crosshair. Now, speaking of crosshairs, if you guys have ever seen someone like Shroud, if you don't know who he is, don't worry about it, but he had a gigantic crosshair when he was a pro, like this, right? A big, stupid blue plus. Now, a lot of people thought, what on earth is the purposes? This is hideous. But crosshairs serve one of two purposes, right? So let me draw this for you guys. If you draw this out, right, the more it shifts towards this direction, the more you go towards this direction, the more it's precision. I love my handwriting or mouse writing. That's precision based. So the closer you get to a dot, the more precision you get. However, remember how we talked about smoothness and tracking. The more you get to this direction, the more it's about me hit target, not me hit target precisely. So in a game where first shot is all that matters, something this would probably be better. In a game where headshots matter, or headshots are all that really matters, or you're Hela or something, this would be better. So, do with that information what you will. If you want to figure out your best crosshair, figure out what you lack. Do you often lose the center of your screen? Where's my center crosshair? Where's my dot? If you lose it a lot, move towards more of this direction. If you don't lose it a lot, and you know where the center of your screen is very well, but let's say you have a bigger crosshair like this, and you're like, I swear I was on him. How did I miss that? If you're like that, you might want to move more to a dot. That's why I settled on something like this crosshair, because this is almost a dot, but it still offers that nice thick outline for me. So it shows me, okay, that's the center of my screen. It's hard to lose this crosshair. That's why I'm able to play someone like Hella on it and Punisher and still perform on both of them. But speaking of Hella, the thing about aiming on characters like Hella, a lot of people misunderstand it. You shouldn't be flicking everything. Everyone treats everything like a flick. Now, let me show you how you should be aiming. If you see a target like here to here, right? Or let's say you see this button at the top. You see the marker button right here, and then the highlighter button here. A chimpanzee can make a good, perfect, accurate movement between these two. A duck could do it. Anybody could go highlighter, marker, highlighter, marker. Anybody. Same thing with this. Dot, 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 dot. Very, very simple. However, if I'm going from here to here, and let's say the new button in the top left to the X button in the top right, let's say the minimize button, so I can't just slam it into the corner. So new to minimize, I flicked off my monitor. I'm on my TV right now. I don't even know how I did that. You know, completely missed it. Very normal. Very, very normal. So the point of big flicks, or flicks in general, is to line up everything into a micro adjustment, which this is a micro adjustment. Tiny adjustments. Micro adjustment. English language, ain't it great? But you want to turn this gigantic movement into a micro adjustment. So how do you do it? Flick first. Preferably, don't lose control of your mouse. I don't care if it's straight. None of that matters. Everyone likes to say, oh, you have to flick straight lines. If you can show me someone who can flick straight lines, I show you a liar. Okay? Listen. Stop it. Stop it. Okay? So you flick over to here, then you micro adjust. That's your job. Turning everything into a micro adjustment. Every single shot should be a micro adjustment. Just like in games like Valorant, most people aim purely off of crosshair placement, because if you don't have your crosshair close to the person you have to flick, you probably have terrible game sense. You probably weren't paying attention, because there's no reason. Let's say a target is right here, right? There's no reason my crosshair should be up here. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm caught off guard. Never, never, absolutely never. If that happens to you, you need to buy yourself a pair of headphones. Aim isn't your problem, okay? But your job is turn everything into a micro adjustment. Now that we've talked about aim technique for smoothness and for precision, a lot of people also want an in general routine. What routine can I just load up, play, practice, get better? So let's talk about it. So what I like to do is I start with Luna Snow, and from Luna Snow, I go to random target distance, just to add a little bit more of difficulty for people. Now, if you're newer, start at short range. As you get better, mid-range, and then long range. Then, obviously, dynamic movement, because we want to make it difficult. And as you get better, you go from normal to quick to fast, right? Your end goal is super fast. I personally also like 2 people instead of 1. The reason why is I hate waiting for the respawn for 1. If you want to, I want to track my scores, I want to see if I'm really improving, move it down to 1. Because you can track your scores much easier, in my opinion, with 1. But it's fine. Health restore on, it's not a big deal. Now, if you're just trying to get scores to challenge yourself, keep it on 60 seconds. If you're just trying to improve your aim and really get a good warm-up, turn it off. Completely off. Now, this is the general routine, right? Now, people ask me, why do you use Luna Snow? This is also something that I saw someone steal. I started this, bro. I started this. He made a video after me. He literally said beat for beat, bar for bar. Oh, yeah, we use Luna Snow because she changes directions and changes speeds because of the sprint. Bro, be original. Oh, God. Yes, I still want the smoke. Anyways, you see how she speeds up, right? If she runs in one direction for a second, which, there we go. You see how that she speeds up like that because of her ice skate? If she does the ice skate and jump like that, it also offers different height changes, different speed changes, and it'll overall be much harder for people to practice, giving you much better training. Now, when you get better with this, the real goal, and this is really to test if your smoothness is good, because with the smoothness practice we talked about, any chimp after a few weeks of practice, complete newbie can master smoothness. On easy targets, though, most people can never. It takes them forever to master smoothness on a flying target. Because flying targets, they move like this. If a flying target is moving like this, which is how most flying targets move, and there's actually a map in Kovacs that I teach that does exactly this, most people, instead of aiming at like that, they aim like this. which this is the segmenting the aim we talked about. This makes no sense to do because buffer, buffer, buffer over and over and over again. Even if you're good at aiming, why would you want to aim more? And two, why you want to take so many pauses? It takes so much effort to really keep track of where they're going. And if the target does this, why change directions by doing this? Doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make any sense to do hard movements when the target is doing a soft movement. You want to mimic what they're doing, not predict what they're doing, right? So if we go over to Storm, we go here, we keep all these settings the same, right? And we turn this on. If you can do this, this is a real good show of skill, right? Let's see her. You see how she moves, right? I can track her with my mouse pretty well. Usually you'd honestly want to do one target, but this is just for practice. So for practice, you want to do two, just so you can really practice on getting the kills, right? Now, a better show of it is obviously tracking, but especially on clicking, if you can do this consistently, your team will love you. You'll be the flyer destroyer. So even, let's say, most people aim like this at it. Now, I want you guys to track this target, right? Imagine watching her, right? If you're tracking her, which is harder to follow her? Like this? Or like this? This is what I'm talking about with aiming too much. If you're over aiming, right? If a target's here and you're always aiming ahead of it, it will look like it's harder to hit because you're aiming double the distance. So you're aiming more, just making it more work for you to aim. So you want to aim less. You want to focus on aiming less and minimizing your wasted movement. That's what all this is about. Now, this video has basically turned into all of my private aim coaching on Kovacs dumped into Marvel Rivals. So hopefully I can figure out how to edit this so it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. I love you guys. But anyways, I hope this helped. If you guys want to get my resources for Marvel Rivals and for aim coaching and anything else I release in the future, check out the link in the description and check out the lock-in tier. And if you guys notice that in-game you lose track of targets a lot, check out this video right here. I love you guys. Have a good one. God bless you.